at it as we get older.
Yeah, and apparently we're a dying breed, blondes.
Really?
Yeah, you walk around, everybody's blonde, right? And you look at their eyebrows and they're brunette. You're like, you're not fooling anybody. You don't go fucking red in the sun. Thank you very much.
Being brunette, I like tanning, so.
Hey, I'm just jealous. That's all it is. It just comes from a sense of jealousy. But mate, like, I'm also not one to judge, right? Like, I'm going to sit here. I'm going to try and find people who are pretty interesting characters or have had a pretty interesting life or do things that I find pretty interesting and want to talk to them about it, right? And I'm going to be like, okay, well, what do you do through like your eyes, your life? And then what are those experiences and how can we learn from one another, right? So I guess, what the hell do you do? Why? Where did you come from? And how did you end up in like the consulting space? So it's a big word.
Yeah, well, I'm not really doing a whole lot of consulting yet, but one day maybe we'll work through that. But yeah, my background is coaching, and I've been coaching for over 20 years. I started as a swimming coach back when I was still in school. I just loved movement. I was a bit of a freak. I'd watch everyone and like I'd be analyzing the elites. I grew up a swimmer. I'd be analyzing them and trying to work out, sorry, the towel keeps showing up behind me. I'd be analyzing why one person was better than the other. When I would be doing kick, if I was injured, I'd be analyzing why my teammates or where they could improve. I'd watch movies, and if they were running, I'd be trying to fix their running technique in my head. Just a bit of a weirdo, to be honest. I liked watching movement and trying to work out what the most efficient way and the best way someone could move. And coming from swimming in particular, the calisthenics space was kind of what I was introduced to early on. And when I was young, I was your typical strength and conditioning coach where you are not so talented, but just love it. So I suppose I had the typical initiation that way. And because I was a very average swimmer and I wanted to do everything I could to try and match it with the girls who were winning Olympic gold medals in my hometown, I started doing a bit of strength and conditioning. A girl in my school, in my class, she was a basketballer and told me about this private place that you could do this thing called strength and conditioning that my hero, Libby Lenton at the time, was training at. So multiple Olympic gold medalist and world record holder. And I wanted to be Libby. I still think she's the best. She's such a great human. But I wanted to be just like her. So I started training there. And I was introduced to a different style of coaching, not just swimming or running or a team sport. It was a little bit different and I really liked it. And when I was finishing up with school, I was doing swim coaching and I kind of like that, but I'm a bit of a talker, so you probably can't talk as much in swim coaching, and it just felt a little bit brain numbing at times. And I reached out to this private facility and asked them if I could start interning with them before I even started uni. And that kind of started off my strength and conditioning career. And I have done strength and conditioning for 18 or so years, maybe a little over, maybe a little under. I can't remember. It's been too many years. But yeah, I worked my way from private to team to individuals to majority of sports that you've ever heard of, including ones that most people have never heard of, like beach handball. Great sport. Everyone should look it up.
What?
Great fun. But I worked in teams, in institutes, in clubs, professional, elite, pretty much any type of strength and conditioning I've done at one point or another. And love coaching, love working with people majority of the time. But yeah, after quite a few years of working significantly longer hours than I was employed to work and giving my entire life to others, I've had a bit of a change. My role now is working with Australian Athletics, and I'm the coaching and officiating project coordinator, which is a very long title. But in essence, my role is to bring more women and girls into coaching and officiating and given it's a project-based role, I choose what's going to be, along with my KPIs, but I choose what's going to be the most important ways to take down some of these barriers and get more women and girls involved. And then on the side, I do some private S&C work. I do a couple of hours a week for a residential college who has a big sporting program, and do a little bit of consulting here and there, or mentoring, advice giving to different people and companies on their needs as well.
Wow. What was your event in the pool?
I was a 50-meter backstroker, but
Oh.
I'm 5'4", so I was not built to be a swimmer.
5'4".
Yeah, I'm short.
Because I started in the pool.
Ah.
That was my I guess introduction into sport. I was 200-meter breaststroke.
Oh.
But I'm 5'10" and as dense as a sack of bricks. I'm 5'10" in width. I jump in, the water jumps out. Like, it was not. I quickly went into a prop in rugby union, put it that way. That was a bit of a difference. So I was like, mate, like they're not things that you should be mixing. But I always find ex-swimmers pretty fascinating, because they are pretty, and I'm going to use this term not lightly, obsessed human beings.
Yes, absolutely.
What's your relationship like with the word obsession?
Well, talking about swimmers and their insanity, I find swimmers tend to fall into two categories. One is your overthinker, and one is your, let's call it an underthinker, people who can just wipe their brains clear. I was definitely the overthinker, and still am. So I definitely was able to use the time in the pool, the extreme amount of hours, to process the day, process my thought patterns, as well as think about what I was doing in the pool some of the time. But I definitely would say that I have a natural lean to heavy focus. Let's call it hyper focus rather than obsession. But when I like something, I drill down pretty heavily, and that definitely was the case in swimming. I was obsessed. I loved it. Don't know why, but it was my absolute love growing up. I was doing 11 sessions a week, and I didn't find that boring. It was insane.
As it is at the same. I get up and do extras. Why? I got to be the one doing extras, you know. And then you inevitably reach the pinnacle of that very small hill, and you realize I can't keep trying to climb a bigger hill. Like this isn't one normal, but we're not trying to be normal. But the ever increasing and further away goal that we're trying to hit is not the best for one's mental health. Especially if we're, let's say, not genetically gifted for the sport we were trying to pursue, because it's a completely unrealistic goal. I don't know about yourself, but I can talk from my experience. If I absolutely destroy myself and I'm okay, oh, my level is here, that is now the new normal. And I've only done it once. It was like, mate, like, stop being so blonde. Like, that is not clever. Like, there's something called a deload. There's something called, I don't know, fucking balance. Like, pack it in. And you're just like, no, that doesn't exist. I'm going to go again and go again. But here's where I get very interested. How did that translate? Because I believe it did, from the initial story that you told. How did that translate from sport into work?
And part of it is my parents, my dad in particular, his work rate was always very, very high. And my training background, I was like, all right, to do well, I have to work hard. And that was kind of the story, at least as a millennial, that's my generation got told. We work hard, that's what we'll do to succeed. It was kind of A plus B equals C, which is thankfully, not thankfully, now we know the world doesn't actually work in black and white like that, as much as my younger brain would have liked it to. And I would destroy myself. I am trying to unlearn being a perfectionist, trying to unlearn that you have to go to 110% to achieve, and something that it took me, I retired from swimming and then I came back as a masters athlete. And what I learned relatively quickly is doing a third or less, maybe a sixth some days of what I used to train in a session, and doing 1 or 2 sessions a week, and then being able to do the same times as I did when I was swimming 11 times a week. It taught me that you don't always have to just do more and more and more. Another thing, as most swimmers and runners will have definitely felt this at times, when you're in a race and you just try so hard, you just want to do the best you possibly can, you tend to do worse than when you just let it flow. Shocking revelation. But it took me a really long time to understand that, and doing less actually allows you to perform better at times. Took me many, many failures and crazy situations that I put myself in to learn that. So that's what I'm trying to keep myself in now, is actually looking after me as a person first and then others. But that is in the essence of doing a little less, looking after myself a little more, and I'm finding my output is just as good, if not better. Again, shock. I think the universe has taught me this lesson about 15 times that I didn't listen. But yeah, learning that often, well, one, you're 100%, 110%, if we're using sports words, is often actually no better, or no one but you will notice the difference. So yeah, trying to unlearn the obsession, the passion, the perfectionism is really important to me anyway.
I really relate to that. And something that ended up teaching me was artists, painters, writers, and all these things, right? Like they call it like the 80%. Like when it's 80%, they should basically publish it or give it out to the world and move on, because they will spend the rest of their life obsessing over the top 20%, which is like the smiles in the Mona Lisa, right?
Yeah.
And I write poetry books as well, and they'll be like, I want to change this word, or I want to change that, I want to change that. And I'm like, no. When I'm about 80% done, it's when I actually need to stick a front cover on it and chuck it out of my brain and say, get fucked. I'm going to go do something else, because you will just end up sticking yourself in a hole, and the productivity will go from pretty damn high to zero. Because you just trip yourself up, and it needs to be perfect. It needs to be better. And yeah, you want to look back at your previous work and see holes, because it means you've actually grown from the time in which you published it, or the time in which you did the work. That's a good thing. Like, yeah, it might not be relevant, or it could still be relevant, and it's going to be great work, but you want to look back and actually, I could do it better now. Because don't you want to continuously try and do it better? And then you've got a different canvas, and you can do another one and carry on and grow. And I don't know, this game never ends. Or maybe that's just the crazy people in us that stared at the black line for way too long, and should have just actually socialized with people.
Probably. I mean, I did learn to talk underwater. I used to try and say things to my friend as she swam by and see if she could pick it up. But things you entertain yourself when you spend too many hours with your head underwater or looking at the clouds.
Yeah, correct. I would try and tell myself I could breathe underwater.
Yeah, I couldn't do that one.
Don't worry about it, Alex. You can breathe underwater. And then you start kicking. You're like, actually, no, I can't. But no, don't worry about it. You can breathe. Just the dumb shit you tell yourself to just keep going. And then I actually ended up working a lot in the S&C space for swimmers. And you see the other side, right? When you're like, you know what, I don't train like this anymore. I don't pursue this thing. And you see the personality types. You see the people who excel, who are just doing it for a wee bit of a social or the fitness, who are forced in by parents. Let's be honest, there's a lot of them. And you're like, actually, wow, like, one, I can learn from these kids. And two, it's like, how do we then terraform our service to be able to stop them from making some mistakes that we end up making? Because there's a lot of perfectionists in that pool, man.
I work predominantly with track and field athletes now, and it's a lot of perfectionism in track and field. I mean, it's a sport in very, very small margins, and I actually find the gym is one of the best places for them on unlearning that perfectionism, because you have to fail.
Yeah.
And teaching them how to fail safely is something that I try and do. And I've got an athlete at the moment, we've spoken about it in depth, about she's quite similar to me in those situations, and teaching her that I'm going to put you in situations where you will fail. I'm going to get you not to be able to do it perfectly, and you're going to have to learn to be okay with that. I want you to keep wanting to progress. I want you to keep trying to get those little improvements, but I also want you to not think the world is ending or be so hard on yourself when inevitably you don't improve, because it's going to happen at some point.
I do exactly the same thing. And I dumb it down, like I'm working a CrossFit gym, right?
Yeah.
I dumb it down and trying to give it to the everyday person. And I don't know if they're going to be listening or previous people, but like I give them something that is impossible to hold. Like you would have to be a fucking mutant to be able to hold it, right? And if they did, fair enough. Like, well, then we've learned something about this person. And I would say go into professional sports, stop being behind a desk. But I'm going to give them something where I can't do that.
Yep.
Like that's the fucking point. Try. And then when inevitably it doesn't work, how are you then talking to yourself? And how are you talking to the people around you? Right? And how are we able to overcome these barriers and ask the questions and be curious enough to then, okay, next time I've learned a lot about myself, even if it's just bloody pacing. Yeah. I was like, the lessons we learn within sport, within a physical domain, is not purely left in that domain.
I mean, I totally agree. That's one thing that swimming forever taught me, rightly or wrongly. I was not very good, and I wasn't very good from a young age. I just loved it and I wanted to get better, and it taught me to fail. Like my first ever state championships, I came dead last in one of my events. It's okay. I came dead last a lot of times over many years of doing things. And the good thing it taught me at a really young age, which is really hard, in particular, as we get further and further with the internet showing perfection, everyone having curated lifestyles, I showed myself that it was okay and I didn't feel like a failure. And I think that's probably why I've been able to do some of the things I've done, because I'm okay with looking stupid. I'm okay with being terrible at it. And interestingly, I was chatting to my sister a couple of nights ago. I picked up pole vault a couple of years ago in my 30s, which is a really rogue thing to do. I love it. It's so fun. It's so different because it's not a grind sport. It's a really technical, it's just so cool. But we were talking about it because I just recently competed, and she was like, yeah, when you started, I was like, how long she's gonna stick with this? She is terrible. What is she doing? It looks shocking. She's like, I'm seriously surprised that you stuck with it. And one of my best mates has said the same thing, and I've documented my entire way through. I've got video from my second session, pretty much. I'd say about 80 to 95% of my sessions, I've got at least one video from. And just being able to see the progress, and I just think it's really fun. I don't care if I look ridiculous. Also, who else can pole vault? Like, it's such a small event. Not many people know how to do it, that it doesn't matter if I look stupid. I'm still doing something super cool.
Yeah, and also, like, do you enjoy it?
So much fun. Such a good learning process. It's the most frustrating sport in the world because you've got so many things to consider at once. So in pole vault, ideally your left arm, most people are right-handed. So if you're a right-handed jumper, your left arm's meant to be pushing out straight. That alone is so infuriating because you've also got to remember how many steps you are, when to plant the pole, when to push, when to move your legs, when to twist your body. Like, there's just so many things, and you've got to get them, but you've also got to get them in the right timing. So it's just so challenging and fun to try and get it. But in insanely frustrating.
That's why I love Olympic lifting.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like I fucking love that sport so much. And just doing the movements in the corner of the room, like the weird cousin, that you're just like, what the hell is going on over there? Like, that doesn't look right.
Yeah.
You know, you're like, oh, it trains your brain as well as everything else, you know, and I'm sure that's why people get obsessed with jujitsu. You know, they say it's like organic chess. And I know for a fact, the second I try a session like that, my life is going to fall apart because I'm going to become a jujitsu junkie. Right. And I'm going to be okay with that. I'm just like, right now, I got other things I got to do, you know?
Balance. We go balance. We're together.
We're trying. But we definitely need to try things that we're not necessarily good at.
Yeah.
But the main point that I was trying to make is, did you enjoy it? If the answer is yes, then fuck everybody else.
100%.
Like who cares? Like, do you want to wear that? Do you want to go do this sport? Do you want to try this? Do you want to read that book? Do you want to do this hobby? You want to do that job? Who cares about anyone else? Friends, family. Actually, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Totally agree.
And I think that's a great pivot because I have a question.
Go for it.
Kind of a question. Fish out the actual question. You said you're trying to bring in females into officiating and coaching. Is that correct?
Yep.
What do you think the biggest barrier is?
The system. Basically, the system has set us up to fail. It has perpetuated problematic people, and that's not a gender specific, but there has been a lot of problematic people in sport that have abused, have psychologically, emotionally, physically, or sexually abused athletes. And more often than not, if you ask people in that sport about that person, they know what's happening. It's rare for someone to be like, that person is just a pillar of the society. This is a shock. People know, but there's been no way to effectively get them out of the sport and keep them out of the sport. And that's been something that's been around for a really, really long time. And Sport Integrity Australia and most governing bodies have integrity officers now who do fantastic work, and it is changing and it is getting better. And I know our integrity officer is fantastic. She's doing such amazing work. But that's been if we look at it from just a pure and simple barrier, if you're seeing people doing that kind of work or being abusive, it really puts you off. So that's a huge barrier. I would say that's been the biggest barrier, because like, I know women, and this isn't necessarily in athletics, but I know women who have just, by being there, being at whatever sport it is, have been abused by their male counterparts. And we like to think this was 10, 20, 30, 50 years ago. I'm talking in the last 5 years. I've heard multiple people, and strength and conditioning is no better. I've heard some horrific issues of people taking advantage of young women coming into S&C. I've witnessed very high up S&Cs making lewd comments to young females starting out. There's just some really, really sad behaviors that have gone on, and women are not exempt because there were so few females involved. Some females who have been coaches there may be only one coaching spot that really is available for women. So then if they help other women, they'll get pushed out. So it's almost a survival instinct. So it's been this awful self-fulfilling prophecy that has kept a lot of women out of coaching. But there are amazing changes happening, but it's not there yet. And the system has been designed for men. Even now, you look at most coaching blogs, articles, everything, and they'll use masculine pronouns. I had one of my previous interns who I had worked with for nearly a year. I was his main mentor. he wrote an article about coaching and used all male pronouns. You look at most coaching, and I'm not talking strength and conditioning specific, I'm talking coaching as a whole.
Mhm.
You look at most conferences, most symposiums, anything where someone's presenting, and you're lucky if you get a token female or 20% max. At the last 2 Olympics, there was only 13% of coaches that were female, and the previous one was 10%. It's not improving. It hasn't for a really long time. And it's not male versus female. It's a system change that needs to be there, so we have equity for men and women, so both can flourish. So long answer, but yes, the system is the barrier.
Wow. If you have the contact for the integrity officer, I'd love to have a conversation with her.
Yeah.
But I have a lot of conversations with many people, right, in many different industries and walks of life and whatever, and even outside of this weird, like, kind of personal radio bullshit that we're doing. It's strange. It's just really strange. I never went to make a show. I was just talking to someone to basically save his life, and we can get into that another time. But it's scary to me how many times sexual assault and that fear that comes from it, or even if it's not sexual assault, but like assault and abuse, like actually abuse, not banter, like, no, we're taking it to the nth degree now. Like, come on, it's past the line for everybody, right? It's crazy how many industries it's actually prevalent in, and it's crazy how many industries people still know it's prevalent in, but they're like, oh, I don't know what you're talking about. You know, rob Peter to pay Paul type thing. He's like that. It blows my mind, and I'm always like, okay, like, for example, the system, right? Okay, what do we need to do for the system to get better, right? So I see it as like that's basically gone all the way down to the sea, and I'm like, all right, well, if I get in a canoe and paddle up this fucking river, where is the source? And why don't we just plug that bitch so it doesn't fucking trickle all the way down, right? We can save all these issues, right? And it definitely starts off with how we treat young dudes, right? Like,
Yes, absolutely.
and it's bizarre to me. It absolutely flabbergasts me. Like, I can't comprehend it.
It's a really interesting one. I'm delving into it at the moment because I want to build out, I'm going to use the word that's more polarizing, but an allyship course. So how to actually be a proper ally. I will not be using the word ally, because ally, if you use that, anyone who sits on the righter side of politics, allyship sounds woke. It's not, but it sounds that way. So we need to actually just make sure that they hear what it is, which is leadership. It's good leadership, right? So I'm preparing it at the moment. I'm very early in. It's a very, very complex topic, and I don't want to do it a disservice by rushing it through and just doing something to tick a box. Or I think it's a fascinating area, and it comes down to why, like, what's happening with young men at the moment. Why are they feeling so out of it, so out of place? How can we make them feel like there's a space for them, but also understanding again how women also need to have space? How can we have, we can absolutely have both, but how do we get society to bring both in effectively and allow men to feel like they can say things and not be filmed or in fear of being treated like they're an awful person? But how do we get them to understand that they also can't do that to women? And it's this balance, and it's that interesting one that's going around. While you were talking, my brain went to the common topic on socials that goes, oh, okay, what was your worst date like, to a male? Like, oh, she didn't look like what her profile was, or she was a bit of a bitch, rah, rah, rah. And then you ask women and they're like, my worst nightmare is to get murdered or sexual assaulted, and it happens regularly. So it's, again, it shouldn't be an us versus them. We need both to come into the middle and understand and listen and have empathy, but we need, at the same time, we need to still shift it. So how do we do that without polarizing a group of people that we actually need? Like, women can't do it all themselves. Otherwise, let's be honest, the system will have changed. You can't. We're often not in those roles of power. So how do we get the system to move? We need to, and this is where I will openly say I've failed many times by pushing the subject rather than finding a way to invite people into the conversation, which I'm trying to learn, and get them to be part of it and work out where they're coming from as well. So we can do that shift rather than it being so divisive. And the world is already so divisive at the moment. We can't keep pushing more and more of us and them. We need to actually listen to both sides and be empathetic of both sides wherever we can.
I completely agree with you, Nick. Like, I don't understand the argument of us and them. Like biologically speaking, but also in terms of the creation of this thing called society, like, we need both male and female.
Yes, absolutely.
Like, it's a necessity. We need everybody. We need all people, because we all have something unique to be able to give. Like, that's undeniable. I will die upon that hill, right?
Yep.
I think it does get a little problematic, and I guess I can speak from a guy's perspective when it's always fingers pointed.
Yeah.
And I met a lot of guys, great guys too. And you're like, you know what? I'm tired of being labeled as an evil guy. So
Yeah.
I'm just gonna go, like, live in my solitude, and then ultimately they say nothing, do nothing. And yeah, they might have a wee bit of peace for themselves. And to be honest, I've been in this position many, many, many times. And it only takes some really great confidence around me to just, like, basically kick me in the shin and say, oh, that's enough. Like, it's time to get back up and dust yourself back off. That being in the fight, so to speak, is better than not throwing a fist. Like, it's just, oh no, I'm out. I'm going somewhere else. I was like, no, we need you here, mate. It's like, yeah, but I'm tired of, like, just being, I guess, labeled, and yeah, but everybody is.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
both
Absolutely.
sides is, and there's always things that we can learn from one another.
Always. No matter how old, how young, everyone has something to give.
And may I add something that I do believe is a big crux in this conversation?
Please.
I think we don't accept accountability.
Yes.
And I think that's both sides.
I agree. I also think we need to, and again, both sides need to learn how to call each other out safely and effectively so it's heard.
Oh, yeah.
Because, again, if we do it how I probably used to, wouldn't be heard anyway. But we need to be able to go, hey, to your mate, that's unacceptable.
Mm-hmm.
That talk's not helping anyone. That's stop. And that, if we all learn that, I think, and take a bit of accountability, I think society will move very well.
But hey, I've been in that position too. I've probably said the right things in the wrong way. And it's yeah.
Me anyway.
Many, many times. More times than not. And it just becomes like, we're actually making no progress. And I do believe I'm right. Or I do believe, like, I'm listening to the right people and they have the right answers. But you're not connecting with folks. And that's not what we're doing, right? We're polarizing each other rather than coming together. And there is, like, to me, if we're just going to break it into a sports perspective, right? Okay, you want to make the winning team, the best team, the most dominant team on the planet. Great. It doesn't matter if it's a female team or a male team, right? You want every question and every perspective come together so you can tackle every problem before game day.
Yeah.
If that's a male mind or a female mind, it doesn't matter. That's the question that we need.
You want diversity. You can't have 5, 10, whatever number of sport you were doing. You don't want all the same person.
Yeah, don't have the
They-
same idea.
They're gonna have a gap somewhere. Everyone does. So you want different people, different ideas, different thought patterns, different experiences. That's what makes it strong.
You got my brain firing here because I'm trying to take it out of sport context as well, not just for the listener, but for myself. And it's like we almost need to create better environments, right, as leaders, because I do believe leadership is lateral, it's not hierarchical.
Yes.
We create better environments so they can lean into the natural talent that everybody has, because we all have some sort of talent, right?
Yep.
And rather than, because I do see it a lot, like females having to wear the cloak of a male, right, to actually get
Assimilate.
time to talk, or somebody to actually like pay attention to what they got to say, right? And I'm like, well, hold on a minute, like we've already got that job filled 3 times over, but they're here for a reason, not because I need another me, but because I need one of you, right? So it's like, okay, well, how do I terraform my leadership so you are going to talk from you and what you want to say rather than what you think I want to hear? And then you should also do the same thing for me, because then we get more and better output. And ultimately, we get to help more people and create more opportunities for the next person.
It's a really important one for hiring as well. There's a guy in strength and conditioning named Ron McKeefrey, who's a legend, such a good guy. And he wrote a book many years ago, I think it's CEO Strength Coach from memory, that it's in this. And he talked about archetypes of like 4 different types of animal. And there's like a lion. Actually, I don't remember the 4 animals, so I'm not going to try. But there are 4 animals, and say you're one. Naturally, most people tend to want to hire yourself because you see those and you're like, oh, I know how to deal with that. That's me.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas we actually need to hire the other types of people. We want the people who, you know, can challenge you when you're doing stupid stuff or you're wrong, because as we've seen, and I'm never going to be let into the US after this, but as we've seen from Donald Trump, you can't just have sycophants, yes man, saying you're smart all the time. You're going to come out with dumb stuff constantly. So you need people who will actually challenge you, who will question your ideas. And I like having that. I sometimes will lean a little bit too much on one way and be like, I'll ask the friends who I know will challenge it. I'm like, what do you think on this? Because that would give me a different opinion and go, oh, okay, yep, I've gone too far one way. I've taken my own experiences and opinions and decided everyone else has that exact same experience, which is wrong. So yeah, when you're hiring, you don't want that either. You don't want to hire just yourself. And I've seen it happen many times, and it may make for really, really happy, good times in your department. You may get along really well, great to go have a beer, but it won't be effective. You're not going to push the dial. You're not going to get better. You're not being challenged.
Seeking out challenge.
Love it.
I think that's beautiful. And it's also completely necessary. We need it in our personal lives. If people are going to be like, hey, listen, I'm still going to love you and I still love you, but you're being a dick.
Correct.
Like, stop.
Absolutely.
Like, you fucked up there. You got to go accept responsibility. And it's the same in team. And I try and stress to everybody I ever work with. I say, hey, listen, like, you're in the jersey for a reason. I don't want a coat hanger. I want a person in that thing. And I have complete trust in you that when you go out onto the floor or you create something, you go do it in your personal flair. Yeah, don't like piss all over the company or business or somebody else or whatever. There's lines that we have to stay in as professional people, of course, but go out and do your thing because we hired you, right? And then if it works, well done. That's on you. Let's go debrief. Let's understand. Let's learn from it to see if we can scale and replicate it. And the same thing, if it doesn't work, I will take the blame.
Yeah.
Because I gave you the responsibility
Autonomy.
and the time and the autonomy. Exactly. And I will eat that shit. Like, I got your back on that. Do not think, don't be scared. Go for it. Like, I got you. And we'll also like debrief and understand why it didn't work to see if we can try and avoid that trapdoor next time. You know, and I don't understand fully. Maybe I do. Maybe I could make the other point on the other side. But people's ego get in the way, right? And it's like ego gets in the way, emotion starts holding its hand and coming with you on that little merry-go-round. And the next thing you know, everything is personal. Everything is about one. And I'm like, get your fucking head out your ass. Like the world is a big place. The universe is even bigger. It's not about you, mate. It's about them, i.e., team, health and fitness, sport. It's about them.
Exactly.
We're servants of them.
Literally.
Wow. Got me all fired up. So, if I was to give you a magic wand, what would it look like? You waved it. Paint me the picture. Take me to Neverland.
I need some context here. There's too many things.
With trying to create a little bit more equality within coaching and officiating space. But like in terms of like the system, what exactly would you, this might be an impossible question, but I'm just following curiosity here, is what exactly would you like to just completely break, take out, add something in? What would that thing be that you add in?
Accountability is a number one. Accountability and what's the word I'm looking for? I said it the other day. I'm going to blank it. Basically, yeah, accountability for people who messed up. So, and I don't mean you're a little harsh one day with a person. I mean sustained problematic behavior.
Yeah.
Where you have actually caused real problems, lasting consequences, repeated patterns of misconduct. I would like them to actually be out of sport. Simple. When we have these problems, they are reported and we are able to deal with them. Because at the moment, it's very hard to deal with them, especially in a sport, an individual sport where you have your own little business. You're not necessarily coaching under a banner or a team, a club, an institute. You can just have your own team. But I would like them to have accountability and people being able to report it and not feel like they will lose their job, which has happened, especially in my sport. And then I would like people to actually just be open-minded and take the coach as a coach, not male, female coach, actually just be able to coach. I'd like a bit more, and this is not a judgment on my employer. I think they are doing a great job, but as a whole, if we're looking at sport and coaching as a context rather as a whole, rather than my individual sport that I'm working in, I think some real transparency as well on decisions. So you have national coaching roles, or you have head of the Australian team, or whatever, whichever sport it is, whatever hierarchy it is. At the top really needs transparency of why these people are being appointed and clearly stating that and actually having application processes, because too often in sport, your bestie goes and hires you, and that's actually just going to keep on rolling around. You see it in your professional sports every single day. You don't produce results, but you get hired by the next team because they know you and maybe you're an elite athlete. So they're probably the main magic wand ones. If that changed, if people had open mind, there was transparency and accountability, that would go a long way to creating a more equitable society in sport.
Well, the world would be a better place,
right? In the magic wand.
No, I'm always interested of where people's Valhalla, so to speak, would be, and what would it look like, and like take me there, you know, like what does it smell like, what does it look like, how do people act? Because once we truly have a vision of that and we can imagine that to a high degree of accuracy, then we can almost reverse engineer it.
Yeah.
You know, and be like, all right, well, what do we have to do today? And what's the goal in a year? And we might achieve it in 5. It might take a lot longer, and it might take 10 generations, but like, you know, we borrow the world from our kids. We don't inherit it from our parents. And like the way this thing keeps on spinning is planting trees that we're never going to sit under the shade. Like that's the only way. Like,
yeah,
that's why I get a little scared, and I have to put an asterisk on that. I have so much hope for people, but this is where I get a little scared when it comes to, yeah, you're not accountable to your actions. You can do whatever you want, regardless of whether you actually earned it or not. You know, like the old boys network, like you said, like you just got appointed to this role or that role. That's why I got sick of rubber union. I was like, oh, fuck this, man. Like, I just can't be asked. Like I'm gonna go do a role with people that I can actually help. Because what's the point?
People want you to help, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Because if you're fighting uphill, it's incredibly draining. I've done those roles, and you're constantly trying to prove yourself and trying to prove that you're the right pick, instead of being able to just be able to do the role because that's what you're hired to do.
Yeah, and here is a point I have for I'm a millennial too, right? So millennial, and then whatever the next one is,
Z, Gen
whatever, whatever it is, right? It's like, okay, we like work harder, things happen. Obviously, was incorrect, but it teaches us a hell of a lot of things that we can then dissect and apply in different things. The ones after us are work smarter.
Absolutely.
And you're like, oh, okay, what can we learn from them, and where are they going to take it? Because they can do the same amount, but in 1/10 of the time. Granted, they might not have the battle scars and the wisdom that goes with it, but which kind of does get my heckles up in a little bit. But again, that's just me being a little bit thick-headed. But I'm like, well, how can they teach us?
I totally agree. I think it's really interesting to look generational, and poor Gen X before us consistently gets forgotten. But yeah. They're just the tough ones. They can do anything. But we got raised mostly by boomers, and boomers are the work hard generation because working hard and staying loyal worked for them incredibly well. I wish it worked like that for us. But yeah, Gen Z, they're very much work smarter. They look after their well-being. They got raised partly during COVID, and that left different battle scars. And it probably taught them get the work smarter because they realized that life could disappear in a second. Whereas the millennial generation, the first 8 to 10 odd years, maybe more, was great. Everything in the world was pretty chill. At least as a kid, there was nothing globally going. And our younger generations are also more aware of the world outside of, your house, because the internet, our internet was like, you wait 20 minutes to get the dial up, and then if someone goes on the phone, and it realistically was just for some games and some stupid clips and MSN to chat to your mates. Whereas they're so much broader. That's why I think they're so intelligent in terms of their sustainability and what matters in the world, is because they've seen the world. Everything is available to them. But they're also quite apathetic because they've seen the world around them and seen the problems. So it's a very interesting kind of line. I'm fascinated to see what the next generation Alpha, their kind of traits come through, because they're mostly, like, I think the eldest is around 12-ish, 10 to maybe 13 now. And yeah, trying to see what as a whole their next iteration of it, because we got the work harder than the work smarter. And if we can learn off the generations after us and be a little less, as much as I love my parents, the generation before us, which tend not to be so flexible and willing to keep on changing and learning. And I'm generalizing big time. That is huge generalization, but in my experience, it tends to be a more prevalent experience. And I think it is, as you get older in general, that regardless of your generation, that tends to be a little bit more fixed-minded. If we can stay open to keep learning, that'll help as well.
Yeah, I think we're becoming more and more distrustful of figures that hold authority, including governance and all those things. And I think people are now, they're going to end up spinning back and be like, you know what? I'm going to go do the lifestyle plot, or it's on me, or I'm going to go do this course rather than university or college, do community college or something. So the routes to get to places, I think there's going to be so many different paths rather than, oh yeah, I'm going to do this.
You go to university, you get a job, you work in that job for 30 years.
You get a house.
Maybe change once.
Yeah, done.
Have your family and then retire.
Perfect.
Doesn't work like that.
Oh, people are like, okay, this is the script. I'm reading the script and I'm getting no benefit from it. And you're like, why the fuck am I reading this script anymore?
Correct. If I was starting out these days, I know how important university was to my career. I couldn't have done what I did without it, but I also don't know if I would have done the same thing. Or maybe I just wasn't aware of anything. I know one of my best mates who was incredibly intelligent. She was aware of it all, so she took the risk knowing what I didn't know. I didn't know what HEX was going to be like. I didn't know that doing a master's degree meant that, it's going to mean it's a lot harder to buy a house. It's going to mean that I'm in debt for a long time. Things like that. Maybe there would have been a different opportunity, or you would have gone, hey, where can I make money earlier? So then you can set your life up. Whereas we were like, do the education, because you do 1, 2, 3. There's just different ways of doing it. And I like that they're thinking that way. It's really fascinating. Or, we could just go French Revolution style and
hey baby, now we're talking.
like French.
Feed them brioche.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
I got one more question.
Please.
Mainly because I ask myself this question quite regularly. It's not completely phrased, but if we were to get rid of all descriptors, like Nick is gone, daughter's gone, friend is gone, job is gone, everything. You couldn't describe yourself that way. How would you describe yourself? If you're going to describe, I guess, the soul that you carry.
Ooh. Can you give me an example?
I can give you mine.
Yeah.
Someone who is trying to give back more than he could ever take.
Yeah. Trying to think. I'm terrible with baseline level English, like adjectives. I always get confused. I'll probably end up using adjectives.
Well, I left school not knowing what an adjective was, so don't worry about it.
I did teaching, and I had to substitute teach year 4 at one point, and we were doing English, and I was like, oh, so what is an adjective? I knew a little bit, but not much. Try hard. I'm a try hard. That's what I am at the base. I don't know if that's allowed through, but
there's no rules here. This is your truth.
In my truth, I'm a try hard. Just want to learn and get better.
How can I put my laws on your truth? Fuck that. Say what you want, man. This is free.
Try not to use descriptive words. No, but yeah, that would kind of boil me down into pretty much my base level. I would say that kind of comes out.
What are you trying to find?
Trying to find joy, enjoyment of everything. Trying to find a place that, I can live authentically me and make other people enjoy what they do and get better. I like making people get better. Try hard to make them get better. No. And trying to get them to see also that we put too many ceilings on ourselves, trying to see that they have a lot more scope than they realize. And again, that's why I love the gym. And same with conditioning and speed, is showing people that, you know, they say, oh, I can only learn until this age. And this is probably incredibly biased by my own history. When I was young, I thought you'd never get better at swimming after you retire. I'll never be able to do X, Y, Z. This is how life should basically go. And I learned, thankfully, quite early on that age means nothing, literally nothing, even though people still think I'm a child because I look like one. But age means nothing. You can start doing something at any age. The legend of a person who got me into pole vault was 50 when she learned. Like, you don't have to keep these targets that are set on you. I know I've done it effectively quite a few times, thankfully, in my own coaching, where one of the teams I worked with, I had every single athlete at the elite level PB'd, and it was because I just kept telling them they were going to do better. Not because my conditioning is so amazing. I'm good at my job, but I just got in their head. It's like, you're going to be able to do this. Nah, that's a whole nother, you're way ahead of that. You'll get much better. And I've done it with a lot of athletes, and women in particular. It works better because they tend to have lower standards of themselves, and they can do more than they ever realize. And I don't tend to do it in terms of you can run 100 kilometers, because that's not my style, but it's whatever their goal is, they can achieve so much more than they've ever thought. And we put too many blocks on it. Age, gender, I don't know, where you live, what you have access to. I mean, just take off those shackles and you can do some really cool things.
It's wild how far you can go with a little bit of positive reinforcement.
Yeah. It's quite fun too. I had one athlete with chin-ups. She was doing a couple. She was decent at them, but not amazing. She could probably do 5 when we started. And I was like, you'll be doing 20 plus kilos for a weighted chin-up in the next 6 months. She's like, no, I won't. You're insane. Stop your stupid talk. And I just kept at her because I knew she is built for it. She is naturally strong. She was so built for it. Just kept annoying her. Yeah, she did. Well and truly. She did it. And you just give them a bit of belief and it goes a long way. Some people probably need a little less belief, but that's just being brought back to the world. But most people need more belief and someone who believes in them, male or female. I know one of the men's teams I worked with, their coach was Eastern European. He's a really tough coach. And they just needed someone who would tell them that, you're good, you can do this. And that little bit of care, that I think the more and more connected but isolated that we get in our society, having someone tell you, you can do this, you've got this, I believe in you, I back you, goes a long way. And I back you and I believe you, not just because you're going to go out and win and that makes me look good. I don't care. You want them to do well because they want it, not because you're getting something back either. And people realize that really quite quickly, majority of the time. You don't want to be the person who only wants to hang out with or coach a good person because it makes you look good. You want them to do well and do well for them.
Nick, thank you.
No problems. Thank you for listening to my ramblings.
Hey, it's been an honor and a privilege to take a little dip into your reality, to hear some stories of your life, to learn from you. You're welcome back anytime. I'll let you know when I'm up in Brisbane.
Absolutely. Please do.
I'll get a little lift on.
Sounds great.
Learn some lessons from that barbell, man. God damn, it kicks my ass every time, but I keep going back for more. It's like your abusive ex that texts you at 3 o'clock in the morning. You're like, get fucked, but okay, sure.
Yep. Gotta do it.
You gotta do what you gotta do. Anyway, appreciate it, man. You have a great day. Enjoy your weekend, and we'll speak soon.
Sounds good, Alex. You too.
Legend. Bye, everybody.